very strict rules and regulations that owners and general contractors are required to follow at construction sites. Depending on the circumstances, if they don't follow those rules, they will be held responsible for the injuries suffered by the worker at that work site. Again, this was purposely done by the legislature. They purposely made it very strict. They purposely made it almost burdensome for the owners and the general contractors because they felt that it is more appropriate for them to bear the risk of injury. They felt that the workers who are putting themselves at risk every day to build the structures in New York should be protected in case they are injured, and the owners and the general contractors should be the ones to bear that risk. In one particular case that we had in this office, there was a worker who was injured when he was trying to remove concrete forms. He worked for a company that had just built the foundation of a large building, and they had filled the concrete in between these wooden forms, and he was standing on a hill which had a lot of construction debris on it. So it was a very unsteady surface that he was standing on, and his job was to remove the concrete forms because the foundation had now been in place. But because he was standing on that hill and that unsteady surface that had all the debris on it, it made it very difficult for him to remove the forms. He needed to pull with some force to get those forms out, and it was difficult for him to do that because he didn't have a really good place to stand. And now there are rules and regulations about that, about the floor area that workers are supposed to be given when they're working. It's supposed to be clean, it's supposed to be clear, so that there's no tripping hazards and other hazards while they're working. In this particular case, the worker was pulling the form, and as a result of the unsteady flooring and ground area where he was standing, he lost his balance and his hand became stuck between the forms and he injured his hand. It was not the kind of case where we were claiming that the worker would never work again. He was able to work again, but nevertheless, it did take him out of work for a while. He did sustain injuries to his hand, which were serious and required treatment, but it is another example of how the burden under the law as it currently exists in New York, and as it should be, is borne by the owner and the general contractor at a work site rather than by the worker.